Hey, this is Principal Bob, and I have the pleasure right now of having my brother Pat in the car with me. And we are right now driving a brand new Ionic 5 XRT.
2025.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And, the first thing we're going to talk about this car is some of the standard driving features that this car has that makes it really pretty good. This is not a limited trim, right? The XRT trim is a step below the limited. And the car's about $2,000 cheaper than a limited. It comes in around $58. But what I love about this car from a driver's standpoint is I get the bird's eye camera, that overhead camera that you have to buy a limited to get. Well, I'm spending $2,000 less on this thing, and I still have that. And when I put on a turn signal, I get blind spot monitoring camera is what I get. And I love that. I absolutely love the fact that this comes with that blind spot monitoring system. So those are two major features that are missing from the mid-range SEL that this car has. Now, it doesn't have what, Pat? What are we missing?
Well, what it really doesn't have, Bob, is you're missing some very minor things. Like, first of all, you have the ventilated seats in the limited, which are really nice, but they're not here. And then the other thing is that if you are looking at the ceiling, right, we're missing that big glass roof up there that the limited has.
Yeah.
But to me, that's the main thing that you're missing. But in its place, it's the XRT. You've got some features here that none of the other trim levels have. For instance, you've got two big tow hooks off the front in case you need to be pulled out, or more importantly, unless you're pulling somebody else out, that can tow, right around 5,834, right? 5,834 pounds. Not the towing capacity, but that's what you can move with those hooks.
You can pull with it, right?
Yeah, and then, you've got a lot of features that, obviously we'll soon point out in the other part of the video, but you have more ground clearance, right? You've got 18-inch wheels, 235/60s on all terrain, and these 18-inch wheels do have some meat on them. You've got about almost an inch, 0.9 inches of more ground clearance than on the standard version, and you've got 23 millimeters of suspension lift.
Yeah. So those are the things you get. And really, folks, let's then talk about who's this car aimed for? Well, I tell you what, if you know what a Subaru Crosstrek is, that's what we designed this for. That's what Hyundai did. They look at the Crosstrek as one of the most popular cars that Subaru sells and said, well, we're going to aim straight for it. And they do a good job of that, right? Because we live in Colorado. I live in Colorado. And it's hilly here, really hilly here. And then I have people that talk to me about they've always wanted like an Ionic 5 that could get them to their house. And what I mean by that is a lot of these folks live on long gravel roads and they're not flat. They live right in the heart of the foothills. And there's some steep angles they're going to ascend to do that. And so having some extra ground clearance, having that front and rear end have a better angle that you can be at a higher angle and not touch the bumper are really, really helpful. But on the other hand, this car is not what, Pat? We talked about cars.
I think it's good to think of it as I'm going to say a much higher performance Crosstrek. Obviously, you still have the 320 horsepower in this car, and I think the peak you could get in a Crosstrek these days is 185.
Yeah.
But and again, I think this has been a popular model for a lot of car companies to put plastic cladding on.
Yeah.
Raise the suspension. I mean, we're talking Subaru Outback here, right? The things that they've tried to turn a station wagon into an overlander kind of thing. But I think we're really thinking about a lot of those cars, and particularly this car. I really think we're thinking, more about a car that handles dirt and mud and snow really, really well. You're not going to take this on a trail that you take a R1S or when we're looking at an ice car. It's not a 4Runner, right? But it does a lot more than a standard electric small SUV would.
Correct. And I think that's exactly what they're aiming for, and they did a great job. Now let's talk a little bit about that snow and mud and sand mode. They added an extra switch button at the bottom of the steering wheel that will take you through those 3 modes. And EVs are really good for the most part off trail, because the bottom of the car is where all the weight is. So it's not a top-heavy car. It's not like a Jeep. And they have instant torque, instant power. And if you can bridle that power in a reasonable way designed for going through sand or mud, that's really good. So this has a few ticks to it, a few pluses that the standard SEL Unlimited do not have to help get you through that kind of terrain.
And then those traction modes are really good because, let's be honest. First of all, you have the advantage of the 2 electronic motors and the ability to have almost instantaneous response from the various motors on here. So, I mean, it can automatically, when you put it in that mud range, it's going to be able to let you spin them a little better to get some traction in the back. It's going to let you handle sand a little better by changing where the power is according to the curve. I mean, it does a lot of nice things electronically that, frankly, it's kind of fun to throw this around a trail, as long as you're not talking about rock hopping. That's not what this is for.
No.
And honestly, I mean, I know there are some really big enthusiasts out there, but 95% of the market likes the ability to handle a trail okay, but they're not going to do crawling with it. And if they're going to do that, they're going to buy that 4Runner, that Jeep, or that R1S.
Yep, and let's talk a little bit about the exterior of this car. So one of the things that the exterior has, it has a pixelated kind of camel look to it, which is fine. I mean, it's I'm not sure what I'm hiding from with that, but if I'm going to take this out deer hunting, but it has that, and it has 2 really big rugged tow hooks that you can stand on, jump on, do anything with on the front of the car, and they are very cool. And this car is designed to put a rack on the top and fill it full of Pelican baggage and boxes and make the car go. And of course, since it's a 25, they actually put a rear windshield wiper on the back of the car.
Well, that's very important off-roading. You got to have the rear windshield wiper. But again, the plastic cladding on the bottom of it, it's all nice. If you're going to head down a gravel road, it's nice to know that at least a portion of it's going to be protected from chips.
Yep, and you've got that going for it. And the other thing that this car that we're going to talk a little bit about in terms of what it does really well is all the things the standard Limited and SEL do, right? I mean, this thing is coming with an 84 kilowatt battery. And, you're going to lose some range, folks, especially if you put a roof rack on there and big bags. But just because of the tires, they're 18-inch, so they're a little bit efficient. Those are going to take some range, but surprisingly, the range on this car, even with those tires, is pretty much what the range was on the 24, 23, and 22 miles.
Yeah, they're listing the range as 259 miles. And again, it's the virtue of that lovely battery that you get with that. And then, on top of that, the standard SEL is getting 290, but if you're looking at the trade-off with the wheels and those kinds of things, again, life's a trade-off. And if you need to get a little elevation and those kinds of things, it's awesome.
Yeah, that's gonna work for you. And the other thing, the XLT has is all those upgrades that you got on the 25. It's got the simplified menus that are so easy to go through. It's got NACS charging port on the back, right? And you know, we've charged these cars at Tesla chargers, and you're going to do about 130 kilowatts for a good chunk of the charge, as long as you've got the battery warmed up. So that's all great stuff, because you've got the flexibility of taking this XRT to all kinds of places you might not have gotten before, because you didn't have those Tesla chargers that were available. And you know, guys, we're hopping around. We've gone on the highway with this thing today. We put a few miles on it. One of the things I was really worried about was the ride. What was the ride going to be like in this car? Tires and the changes that were made. You know, it's not much louder than the regular version of the car. So I'm really pleased with that. That it didn't turn into a big noisy off-road machine. And once again, I'm going to emphasize, it's still got really good range for the average person who's taking one of these things out. And that's very pleasing.
And again, I really think it's important to note that if you're interested in electric, you know, there really isn't a good alternative to this car right now. I mean, it's really in the market there. I'm not thinking that I've noticed anything in the market that would compete with this for what it can do and the virtues that it has. You know,
Well,
you're not gonna be walking into a Tesla dealership and finding a Model Y that's situated like this. It's really nice.
And it's just another example of the Korean car companies putting out model after model and giving you so much choice, right? Because Hyundai, now they give you the Ionic 6, which you're not taking anywhere near off-road. I mean, that's a road warrior car to get lots and lots of miles on the car and range. That's what that car's for. Then you've got little Kona EV, right? That gets 250 miles worth of range. It doesn't cost a lot, doesn't charge great, but it's a good car, all right? And then you've got your standard Ionic 5 and soon the Ionic 9. And so, you know, I don't see the Koreans pulling back on electric cars. A lot of other companies, right, Pat, have pulled back. You know, and Pat's got a couple examples to talk about where other car companies aren't doing this.
Well, you know, we've already mentioned, you know, we've picked on Volkswagen enough about how
Let's pick on them some more.
They've really pulled back on the EV market, you know, and again, I'm glad they sent us the Buzz, but really they haven't sent us a new car since 2021. I mean, the ID4 got revised, but we haven't seen any other electrics, and we know they've got them in Germany. You know, I mean, I really think that's important note. And, you know, GM has produced a number of cars. Ford, I guess, is the only one that I would say there's a Mustang version that they have right now that's really kind of designed for this, and it does a really, really, really good job. So, again, you can look at this one, and you can probably look at that Ford Mustang GT version that's been sporterized. I'm going to say that it's made for off-road. And I haven't had a chance to drive one of those yet, but I'd like to.
Okay. Hey, this is Principal Bob. I just wanted to thank you again for joining my brother Pat and myself on the channel today for this brief review of the XRT. It's a gorgeous car. We really like it. I think if you get a chance, go out and test drive one. I think you'll agree that it's kind of the best of all possible worlds, particularly the fact that it gets really good range despite having a little more aggressive tires. So hey, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Better yet, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Hey, we'll see you next time.